This is a presentation I'm doing on behalf of Stephen McGrath, who was unable to join us, but sent me these pictures. This is the western skunk cabbage, Lysichiton americanus. It was taken on May 9th, 2025 on the trip that Beth Sheila arranged to see it near Wishka Falls. And this is a plant that is native to the West Coast, and there is one population in Cape Breton that nobody knows why it's there. Um, and I know there's some theories that it's an escape from a garden of a Swiss homestead that's like over 100 years old or something like that. But I haven't seen it in that location myself, but apparently it's fairly isolated and in the middle of nowhere. And suddenly you've got this plant that's thousands of miles away from its normal home and just in Cape Breton. Actually, it's not entirely true. There is some of this plant near Economy at the old Dutchman cheese property, but I think that's a garden escape there as well. Procumbens. So this is an Arctic plant, and the only location in Nova Scotia that it is known is in the North Peninsula of Cape Breton. There's a few isolated instances there. This was taken up in Cape North on June the 1st. And it's a kalmia, just like the lambkill and the other, kalmias that we commonly have here, but except this one is very dwarf. As you can see with the lichen there, the cladonia that's there, it's a very small plant, but it's a boreal species that I believe is circumboreal right across the whole Arctic. This is Highland rush. And this is a plant that is more commonly found in Northern Europe, but it is found here in a few places. Again, it's only found in the North Peninsula of Cape Breton as far as Nova Scotia is concerned, but it's also in Newfoundland and Gaspe and the Appalachians. So it's a typical rush, except it only has 1 to 3 solitary flowers per comb, and it forms a typical six-sided capsule that you'd normally get in the rush family. This one is actually called Oreojuncus trifidus, so it's not a true juncus or true rush, but closely related. This is a heartleaf twayblade, Neotia cordata. It was taken on the path to see the alpine azalea at Cape North, also on June 1st. So this is a not common, but it's an orchid you'll see across Nova Scotia. You tend to see it more in the northern parts of Cape Breton, but you also see it in southwest Nova Scotia. And it's where I've seen it is mostly in deciduous woodlands that are fairly moist. There's a close-up of it. It's a fairly small plant. It's definitely an orchid. The showy lady slipper. You probably are familiar with this one. It's a beautiful plant. Usually grows about a meter high. And this was taken on the side of a road in a ditch in Iona on July 1st. There's some beautiful large colonies of this orchid along Bredor and in eastern Cape Breton. But also you can find there's quite a good sized colony in West Smiley Park and West Hants, east of Windsor. So this is a tuberous grass pink, except it isn't pink. This is the white form, Calopogon tuberosus. And I've only seen this, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 times. You often see them that are quite pale, but to be pure white like this, that is unusual. And this is the Western rattlesnake plantain. So rattlesnake plantains, first of all, they're not plantains, they're orchids, but also they tend to have quite spectacular mottling on their leaves. The Western rattlesnake plantain is noted for having a lot of very linear white lines running along the center of the leaves, whereas the other ones tend to be mottled more over leaves. And it's also one of the larger species. Now, this is the round leaf bog orchid. Platanthera orbiculata. And it's a much larger plant than the rattlesnake plantain. It has beautiful true orchid flowers on it. And it's not that commonly found. This was taken in the Aspie Trail, July 19th. I've also seen it along that trail. And the only other places I'm aware of it growing is along the North Mountain outside of the Annapolis Valley. There's some spots along there that it grows. So these are ladies' tresses, and this particular one is the yellow knotted lading tresses, Spiranthes ochroleuca. This was taken at Big Pond on September 13th. And the yellow ladies' tresses tend to be a bit more cream colored and have more yellow in the throat than the other ladies' tresses. I think there's also the shape of the flower distinguishes it, but I couldn't tell you. It's usually the lower lip that's distinctive, and I think it's a little fleshier in this species, but I'm not totally certain of that. And the last slide Steve sent us is of the leathery grape fern, and this is a plant that Steve has been spending a couple of years looking for, and he says it's his favorite. It's near Port Morin. He took this on August 23rd. This one is not showing the leaf that you often see with it. Usually there's a single small, leathery, heavily cut leaf growing near the base of the pedicle. And the things that look like grapes at the top are sporangium, which are capsules that release the spores. So it's a very different type of fern than the other type. And there's maybe about half a dozen grape ferns and moonworts. Moonworts are related that you may find in Nova Scotia, but they're not very common. And they're often very diminutive and easy to miss. Now, I was kind of looking up a bit about grape ferns and discovered that they're considered the most primitive family of ferns native to Nova Scotia. They date right back to the Carboniferous period, over 300 million years ago. And this compares to all our other ferns, which really only diverged from each other about 70 million years ago, with the exception of the curlygrass fern, which is older, probably around 100 million years old. But this goes right back to the Carboniferous. That's when the giant horsetails and all that were growing. So that's kind of interesting.